But once it becomes obvious that the availability of commodities is becoming, very, very scarce, that no one wants to sell it at these make-believe prices, and the public realizes, my goodness, what have we been missing? Maybe in concert with a breakdown in the financial system or the banking system, that's when you would see that type of implementation where the public, manipulation be damned. Give it to me. I need it now.
Andy Schectman, a popular precious metals analyst and the president of Minnesota-based bullion dealer Miles Franklin Precious Metals, is certain that the current low prices of precious metals like gold and silver is just a smokescreen to allow central banks to continue to stack up these metals in large amounts, while others stay fixated on low prices and price manipulation. According to Andy, there is a new sheriff in town, and this sheriff understands that the old sheriff has been doing a lot of shady things to cling to power. But the new sheriff is not strong enough to go against the old sheriff. So he is borrowing a leaf from the old sheriff's book to gain as much power as possible before revealing his true intentions. The new sheriff is, of course, the BRICS alliance and its many, many allies. While the old sheriff is the United States and the rest of the Western world, which Andy says have been intentionally and strategically suppressing the prices of precious metals for decades to make their dying fiat currencies look stronger. Andy says the rest of the world has realized that the dollar is not as strong as the U.S. is projecting. Yet, we have been using this supposed strength to trample on the rest of the world. Those days are over now, the Miles Franklin president declares, adding that the BRICS alliance will use gold and other commodities to challenge this older and secure a bigger place for itself in global trade and politics. During a recent interview with Digital Perspectives, the popular metals analyst discusses how many countries, through their respective central banks, have been loading up on not just gold and silver, but all other commodities. These apex banks have been taking advantage of what will undoubtedly be a massive price discount when Andy's predictions become reality. According to the Miles Franklin president, by the time people realize what's happening, most likely during a great economic recession or another banking industry collapse, it will be too late to accumulate, because there will be a huge rush for these commodities. We will now bring you clips from the interview. Please watch, share, and like this video. Also, ensure you subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
589 circuit break rule is basically a rule that says if the market moves up too fast, it pauses for 2 minutes and let cooler heads prevail. And here again, it, I guess you could say, distorts the free market in the respect that if the demand is that big and the price is moving up in an environment where naked shorting is allowed, in some cases even encouraged, they ought to get what they have coming to them, those being the ones that naked short to speculate to such a degree where they would do so without having the ability to readily pay it back quickly. I think you could see something like that. But look, over the last several years, what we have seen is a concerted effort by the very powerful money centers, the central banks in particular, to use the Western suppression of the COMEX markets to accumulate natural resources. And look, it's not just gold and silver. It's, there's a long list of commodities, grains, soybeans, aluminum, gold, uranium, titanium. I mean, the list goes on and on. And when you see that these countries that are building a war chest, not of financial assets, but of real things used to back a system when the Western system starts to lose credibility, they have been the ones that have been using the suppression of the Western markets, which, look, the West suppresses all of these very, very important strategic commodities to make the West seem stronger than it is. If you have gold and silver going to the moon, it exposes the fragility of the dollar, of the Western system. And so they use it, the suppression, to run cover, if you will, for a system that is in many ways not what it really appears to be. And so the rest of the world understands this. There will come a moment when the public gets it. The big money is using the Western suppression and, in fact, aiding in the suppression where you can suppress these commodities at least a 30, 35 times leverage with paper contracts to create a reality, a distortion of reality, an illusion of reality that, hey, commodities aren't what you really want right now, but go buy financial instruments. And at the same time, you see a vast hoarding of these commodities and a vast accumulation and a bleed down of inventory. I mean, look at the LBMA as an example. The London Metal Association saw a 90% drop in their holdings of zinc last year and 75% of aluminum last year. And yet you look at it and you see that who's controlling the majority of the aluminum and the zinc? Well, that would be China. And it goes to the point that these countries are, the reason they're not bitching yet is because they're accumulating. People pulling the strings, well, they don't want the circuit breakers triggered because that shines a light on what they're doing. Instead, they continue to manipulate and suppress the system, not only
dealer Miles Franklin Precious Metals,
but the rhetoric surrounding them in order for them to run cover for the de-dollarization, to be sitting in the catbird seat when the rest of the world says, oh my God, what have I missed? And bang, you start to see the circuit breakers triggered. And that's something I think you could definitely see happening, but that would be a very late stage phenomena where the big, smart, sophisticated, well-funded, and well-informed traders have already, they're sitting on their deck seat, sipping a margarita, watching the chaos unfold, and as the rest of the people scurry for whatever scraps are left.
According to Andy, the Western world is making a show of ignoring BRICS and the growing threat to Western dominance. But that is a big mistake. At least 23 countries formally applied to join the alliance before the Johannesburg summit. 6 were carefully chosen, and more will be allowed to join during next year's summit in Russia. Andy notes that all the new members have rich natural resources reserves. He adds that BRICS members now make up almost 50% of global population, 45% of global oil production, 75% of manganese deposits, 50% of graphite, 28% of nickel, and 2 of the 3 largest nuclear arsenals in the world. He notes further that with the addition of the 6 new members, BRICS now controls the Persian Gulf 3 major water transportation routes, the Strait of Hormuz through Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, the Suez Canal through Egypt, and the Strait of Magellan through Argentina. To top it all off, it's getting more certain that the BRICS 11 will be forming a big union with the Eurasian Economic Union and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Let's get back to the interview.
If you realize that it's not just the BRICS, there's other entities involved here. You have the Belt Road Initiative, which is China's attempt to rekindle, if you will, the old Silk Road. It's the largest infrastructure project ever attempted in human history, and currently comprises 75% of human population, 50% of global GDP. But the kicker to it is that all of the OPEC countries, all of them, are on the Belt Road Initiative. And when you look at this growing coalition, you have right now the president, I believe, of Belarus, who is asking for a meeting between the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the Eurasian Economic Union so that they can combine with BRICS. And, the Eurasian Economic Union and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization are 2 entities I have continually talked about along with the Belt Road Initiative when we speak of BRICS, because they're all intertwined. As an example, Saudi Arabia not only is on the Belt Road, Saudi Arabia is not only in BRICS, but they've also formally applied to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. It is the largest regional military and financial organization in the world. Iran, in the span of 1 year, has joined both the BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. These are very significant developments, and you are seeing this massive growth and coalition of countries forming together against the Western hegemony. So what happens when all of these countries that you put the Belt Road, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the Eurasian Economic Union, and the BRICS in one group? You're talking 85% of human population. Russia's a member of all of them. China's a member of several of them. Saudi Arabia's a member of. They're going to join together. It just makes sense. You have a massive trade alliance that militarily and GDP surpasses the G7 and in real terms. And it's not something to shake a stick at. And they produce the majority of the world's commodities. So what happens when Saudi Arabia stands on a stage with the rest of their OPEC brothers and sisters and say, look, you guys in the West are going green. We respect that. Biden signed an executive order right when he took office saying that by 2030, we're 50% green, and 2050, 85% green. So, what's the big deal? You guys are moving away from fossil fuels. We have coalesced with all of these countries that are not going green, that represent the majority of human population. And if you understand, Brad, that what has given the dollar its main hegemony status is its backing of the petrodollar, or its protection of the Saudi kingdom, and by extension, OPEC's willingness as a result to value oil globally in dollars. It's been that way for 80 years almost. Well, excuse me, 50 years rather. Sorry, 50 years. And that synthetic demand for the dollar has created really this economy has given us the privilege of being able to be the world reserve currency. If Saudi Arabia relinquishes that right, we're going to allow oil sales to be priced in other currencies, or maybe ultimately the new BRICS settlement currency, or the yuan, which is convertible into gold, and the Shanghai Gold Exchange, or whatever it is. If it's not just dollars, and the whole world has the incentive to dump dollars, what happens? It creates a religious experience in this country as those dollars get dumped, flow home, creating a tsunami of inflation. And the byproduct is interest rates that spike to the moon. Not what Powell has been doing, but real spike, where we see double-digit interest rates in a matter of minutes. And when that happens, the chaos that would ensue, as all of the assets in this country are inversely correlated to that moment.
Andy is certain that the BRICS 11 and their allies are silently gathering all the resources they need to truly challenge the Western dominance. During the interview, he speaks about 3 major sea routes that the alliance now controls through its new members. The first is the Strait of Hormuz, which is situated between the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman, and provides the only sea passage from the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. It is considered one of the world's most strategically important choke points. Then, there is the Suez Canal, an artificial sea-level waterway in Egypt, connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, and a popular trade route between Europe and Asia. Lastly, there is the Straits of Magellan, which BRICS now have access to through Egypt. It is the most important natural passage between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. On land, BRICS also controls a very large portion of the Eurasian landmass with Russia, China, and Iran. Andy believes the alliance is quietly building a northwest corridor through which they can easily and safely transport commodities that will largely go unnoticed by the United States Navy. Andy believes all of these moves might seem isolated and coincidental now, but everything will make more sense when this massive union is formed and the players lay all their cards on the table. Until that happens, keep stacking to avoid the rush. What are your thoughts on Andy's predictions? Do you agree that the new sheriff will someday have as much power or even overpower the old? Please drop your comments and observations below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.